Hello everyone, and welcome to the Deeply Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deeply Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 212. Today is Wednesday, December 27th, 2017, and I'm glad I could join you guys today. I am a little bit early and also too late. So my in-laws are coming tomorrow. And they're going to be here through, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. I'm not really sure about the prospects of recording, so I was like, hey, I'm home, I spent all day in a car, but whatever, there's tons of crap to talk about. Because, yeah. And if there is the possibility of recording, we'll just put it off till after then. It'll be fine. So, we'll just have this, awkward midweek episode. Today was my last day of vacation. I'm going to work the next 2 days, so, and then there'll be that day off for, New Year's Day, because that's also Monday, and then things will resume normal, probably. We're not sure. So it should be, pretty normal, probably. We can guess. But there's been all sorts of craziness that's happened since, I talked to you guys last, so I figured it would be easier to show. Rather than waiting until it all piled up. So I'm not sure how it's gonna go. So I figured it was easier to be, a good host and not plan on recording. Don't get me wrong, I'm taking my mother-in-law to knit night, and she's going to be knitting there too, but... So, it's fairly late. I have decided to go with the hot apple cider wrap, which is always fun. It's always nice when you can still find it. You're like, yes! I don't know, I'm a fool for cider. Let's start with the finished object first. I finished something. Like crazy. I finally, how long have I been working on these socks? So these are the Everdeen socks. It's the Ivana Reynolds pattern. I started these for Sirius, I believe sometime in July, maybe. One of the cuffs was done sometime in July. So these are a cable and lace crazy textured thing that I made out of Trekking XXL. And if you saw my other pair of Trekking XXL socks, you would just want to buy all of Trekking. So, it's a really cool yarn. It it is dyed as singles and then plied together. So, it is the closest that you can get to hand spun with a commercially made yarn. And it is a 70% wool, 25% polyamide, aka nylon, blend. And I've been working on these forever and a half. But I finally buckled down and finished them. There was some dedicated time-o knitting, which I then used to my benefit. So, ta-da! I did a lot of this on the drive to Kentucky. And then a decent amount while we were in Kentucky, and then I was done. And there was much rejoicing in the land, because these socks had gone for a very long time. A little bit concerned, because there were gauge changes, it took so long. So one sock is slightly different length, but same-ish pattern, number of repeats. There's probably a slightly different number of cables before it launches into the toe. And, it does seem like things are just, subtly, smally, strange. But, should be perfectly wearable socks. And I'm really excited about these because they're It's a really tough yarn. It looks really great. And it actually held up to this really crazy pants pattern without really any loss of general prettiness. So, what would it be? The strangeness probably has more to do with how long it took for me to make, not anything wrong with Ivana Reynolds stuff. So, I'm glad I finally knit this pattern. It took me a long time to make. I did pay dollars for this sock pattern, which is not what I would normally do. There's so many good free sock patterns, it's very seldom that I actually come across one where I'm like, ooh, yes, that's the one. So, finally, at last done. So I can weigh the leftover. I don't even know where that. There's not oodles of leftovers. I haven't even gotten to the point where I've weighed how much yarn I've used in the socks or figured out how many leftovers. I definitely was fine, so I will put that in a ball and put it in my pile of scraps. The other thing that didn't get nearly as much love, but did get some. So I haven't done, what would it be? I haven't managed to do a full or even probably half repeat since I talked to you guys last, but I am close to doing a full repeat. So I'm close to have done a repeat. So it was a case where it became awkward knitting because I needed to weigh it, so I weighed my balls of yarn. I think I told you guys last time that I had used about 1/4 of it. And I don't know whether or not I did anything since then. This is a plain round. Yeah, whatever. So not quite sure what happened. I might have done a full repeat. I brought my scale with me in case I did do the whole one because I wanted to verify my yarn usage per repeat and make sure I wasn't like exceeding or doing anything crazy with it. So this is out of, so this is a variation on the Chevron Infinity Delight cowl. My modification is that I'm knitting it in the round, apparently to make it shorter. So that all edges are finished edges, I suppose. And then I'm doing like this occasional garter ridge thing to add some texture, and then these 3 colors and a particular pattern that was supposed to most evenly use the yarn, but maybe that didn't quite turn out the way I was hoping it would, but I need to weigh and verify. You know how it goes. And I am using Blue Nile, Sea Glass, and Lepidoptera. The Lepidoptera is Pashmina, and the Blue Nile and the Sea Glass are 80-10-10 Sport. So, really gorgeous matte tosh colors. Super duper obnoxious. And the Lepidoptera, the maroony, magenta-y color really goes nicely with my coat, and then this is like the bright little pop, and it'll be a fun accessory that matches stuff that I already have, but then has those like crazy colors in it, so like the blue and the green, that I enjoy. So I think I was like counting how many rows I was doing. I might be getting in, I'm almost have another repeat done, so I'm almost 4 in, which would mean that I was really 1/3 of the way through now. Unless I change my plan. But obviously this didn't end up getting super duper tons of love on the trip for whatever reason. It was like decent dark knitting. But even then it wasn't the case where it's not like it's not like it's movie knitting. So it was okay. So let's see. Yeah. So I am 6 rows away from having made 1/3 of the way, so I'm pretty close. So it is coming together. Yeah, I'm pretty close. So, not too crazy. So the plan was to weigh all my skeins again after I got to that point to figure out what a repeat was taking me, and make sure, just to verify what my yarn usage is and make sure that I'm not doing anything too crazy. But you can see how it's all nice and sort of scallopy on this end. And it should make for a really nice cowl. It already sort of folds nicely on itself anyways. It has been pretty good mindless knitting. Well, mostly mindless knitting. It's like an interesting sweet spot. I think that's the only way to describe it, is that it's engaging because you have like the stripes and all of the increases and decreases, but then it's not like in the dark knitting. So it is now a proper cowl size, so this could be right now like a normal. I think this would actually, yeah, it would actually go over my head nicely. Unlike the 3 repeats was definitely not enough. So it may be the case where I might not even be able to use all of the yarn. It may be that I go to the right cowl length and call it good. I guess in my roughly, I don't know, I think this is, I believe that this is 9 inches of biometric measurement. It is apparently a different number. So this is about 7. So in 7-inch increments, I don't know where I got 9 from. It's a mystery. So pretty close here. So coming along, what would it be? It's now at the very least like a proper cowl size, so that's promising. I just need to make it like a proper long cowl size, which is a little crazy. So I don't know whether or not this project is going to be one that is done in a reasonable amount of the winter time. We shall see. It's definitely a longer one for sure. What ended up actually getting the most love was my too late project. Exactly, that's what happened. So I was sort of idly wondering whether or not I would be able to knit the toy in time for Christmas in order to give it to my niece. I didn't. We have pieces. All sorts of crazy pieces. So this is the dog pattern. It is I think the other pieces of the pattern are elsewhere. But I had a couple of roadblocks that prevented me from succeeding. The noble one was I was next to a craft store and I forgot that I was out of polyfill, or nearly out of polyfill, or didn't have enough polyfill in order to properly make the thing. So, obviously this is a super duper descriptive pattern, dog. It has all these little pieces that you stuff as you go. The ears are not stuffed, so they get to stay all, what have you, all floppity. But eventually all of these pieces are going to come together to make a very cute pattern. I'm trying to find the last piece. There we go. So I can see now why when the dragon pattern advertises itself as knit seaming or whatever, no seaming required, that looks like I need to find the appropriate dog nose holding method. That when all of these pieces come together, so this is like its little head, and then you have to sew its little nose and embroider in its little eyes. That all these pieces are going to come together, and I'm almost done with the knitting of it. But my net productivity for the entire, 11-hour car ride was, let's see if I can get out the piece that I was currently working on, is this. So this is, roughly speaking, all 11 hours in the car today. And there was some time in the middle where I was just sitting, drinking some coffee. But this was my knitting for today. So I have 2 arm pieces, a stuffed leg, 1 ear, and then part of the second leg. And then what I knit, basically, I think I'd realized I did not have enough stuffing sometime on Christmas Day, I believe, where I was like, oh crap. Was that I did the head, the body, which are pretty big. This body is somewhat deflated because I started to steal body stuffing in order to just close off the other pieces, because as the orifices get smaller and smaller, it's harder and harder to shove stuffing in them. And an ear. So this has been most of my knitting for actually the past few days. So I am knitting this out of several different yarns. I have Cascade 220 Merino in the ever useful black. I have Rowan, that's the Cascade tag. I have some Rowan Superwash. Maybe not Merino though. Same tag. I also have cold medicine in this bag too. That looked sort of promising. Haha. Rowan Pure Wool Superwash Worsted. So, wool. In the apt, I think the shade was super duper, oh yes, almond. So, very apt, the almond. And then Miss Babs, Yummy 2-ply in the Wolf's Den colorway. So, what would it be? So, you can get a sense for the Wolf's Den I'm holding doubled because the pattern I ended up going with was actually meant for worsted or Aran. So my little creature, my little dog, will actually be mostly the Wolf's Den. And then as you put on its little head, then what would it be? You have the almond as accents, and then some of the finishing embroidery stuff will be done in the black. So not too crazy, but you can see my poor little orifice. So I've been stealing. It was probably 2/3 stuffed, whatever, right before I started stealing from it. So I need to get another bag of polyfill. Somehow I neglected to buy another bag of polyfill today. Oh, such a slave. So all these pieces are come together, but it was not, I didn't start it soon enough to have it be done for my niece in time. She really loves dogs. She adores the knit toy I made for her, what is it, when she was really born 2 years ago. So I think that this will be a win whenever I get it done. And I would like to get it done soon because, what would it be? Now that I've committed to making it and actually bought the pattern, and like I should finish it. But unfortunately, or what is it? First thing is I didn't leave myself nearly enough time to finish it. Secondly was by the time I was inspired to start it, what would it be? I had not set myself up for success, so it's too late. But it won't be the end of the world to ship it. So it shouldn't be too crazy. And I don't know whether or not I'll end up sending some hats to go along with it. I'm not sure. So my sister will be having a boy in April, so I will also need to be thinking a little bit about what to do for that. I don't think that I am going to do the, what would it be, the whole hog approach that I did with my niece Claire. So she asked for hats. I'm happy to make some hats. What would it be? Like, my sister knows how to knit but doesn't knit anymore and is totally knit worthy. Like, the knitting was in the room. So, like, it is worth doing, so I will humor her and knit some hats eventually. It depends on the level of procrastination whether I send the hats and the dog at the same time. We shall see. But the good news is that I do get to show you guys the progress of the dog as it comes along. Maybe it'll be done with these upcoming, this upcoming 3-day weekend for me. We shall see. I'm trying to think of that. I do believe is all of the knitting. I have not started anything new besides the dog. I did finish something, so that's positive. So I'm still at 2 knitting projects. And it was lovely to have what would be several days of knitting time, lots of hanging out with my family, which was lovely, and all of that other nonsense. I didn't touch my spinning hardly at all. It stayed in the bag, or what is it, my greenwood fiber stayed in the bag the whole thing. I never took it out. I think because my spin the bin is mostly under control, it became less under control when I tried to bring it upstairs, but hey. So I think what I showed last time was that I had prepared all the fiber, and I was procrastinating because I needed to prep all the fiber, so I managed to get my 63 grams, which is a little bit more than 2 ounces of wool prepped. And I don't know if you guys can tell from here. I might need to bring it a little closer, but I'm a little scared. Because there is some major, like, you see all of this stuff here? Yeah, this ball totally got away from me. So I have a very slubby, purpley gray single. Lights are washing it out, maybe a little bit more true to color over here. So this is, I hand wound on my PVC Nosta pin, because I'm classy like that. This, my singles, and now I am two-plying it on my Lendrum. The one rule, or the one wheel to rule them all. and making a very fluffy, crazy 2-ply yarn. But my ball got away from me, so I will need to rejoin my singles because it broke in a spot, and get all of that stuff contained. It's looking pretty good for me to be done with my spin the bin early this year. I won't be plying on the 31st. What may be a little bit more challenging is that I still have half of my nest to spin still. So I didn't end up taking this with me. I was planning on spinning it on my wheel anyways, so I still need to probably split this ball because I decided that I liked how the medium amount of splitting spun, but a little bit more. I know. Whatever. It'll be okay. So, I might have this, I'm not sure. Maybe not. I'll decide when it's finally its turn again. But I will spin this up to do a chain plied 3-ply for my 3-ply 2/8. So, should be a lot of fun, and then I will need to figure out some cool project to use it for. And this is the Targhee Bamboo Silk, which is a pretty fun blend. It's spun up. I wanted to spin up very thin for whatever reason. I believe I didn't, I ended up using my largest fast ratio on it, so, and it still ended up being pretty stinking fine. I think that bamboo and silk content just lends itself to being spun pretty thinly, so it's okay. So. This is what the dog looks like when it's done being a dog. So cute. It'll be very cute when it's done. And we'll reunite that pattern with the rest of the yarn that I'm knitting with. So, I did have some stash acquisitions. I had my Will My Set for All Season swap. I asked for yarn for Christmas. I asked for a Swift for Christmas, and I ended up buying some yarn because it was a screaming de-stash deal. Curse you, Instagram. So, I'll show. So, there was a decent amount of Christmas joy and cheer going on. So my Swift is there, and it is in pieces. It has given up the ghost. It had a pretty good run, all things considered, but it is dead now. So I ended up getting an umbrella Swift from Amazon, or I selected one from Amazon, and then my mom got it. So I don't quite know why it is that they don't have the ties in the center ones, but it's not like it's the end of the world. I'm also amused by the burlap, but we'll just, I don't know, twine. Yeah, burlap. Like, you would make burlap with twine, right? So, it's a pretty basic one, but now I can actually mount my Swift onto my table, which I have never been able to do. And it's actually a proper Swift in that you put it up and then lock it in place. My Swift is more like it is held shut, or sorry. So a Swift normally rotates, or this Swift rotates around a shaft that's fixed, and then these parts twirl. My Swift has a bottom, and then it will open up all the way, and if you put yarn in it, it'll actually hold it more closed. Normally Swifts are made this way, and then you actually have to put this piece up to hold it in place. So it's an interesting exercise in an over-constrained system. And having enough slop in your joints so that you can have the right amount of holding. The other gift was the yarn I walked away from. So, I was really very much so in love with the Harrisville Designs Flywheel. It is a sport weight dyed-in-the-wool yarn. And then this guy has 50-gram skeins, and they're about 170 yards a piece, so it's a fairly heavy yarn. And you're like, holding back here, you're like, this is obviously Molly blue. No big deal. But the thing is that this actually has very, very complicated color to it, and that this blue is made up of greens and reds and purples, in addition to the overwhelming blueness of it all. I'm gonna try minimizing this for a bit. So, well, that was sort of pointless. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but this is a very complicated color. I don't know. Let's see if I can somehow make this right. So, oh, you can sort of get a hint of it. So this is not the blue it seems to be. And I was very, like, it was the case where I'm like, oh yeah, like, it'd be very fun to make a cabled sweater or something like this with this really rustic, complicated color. But then when I started, because it was one thing, like, looking at, like, the very woolly wool sorts of things, I write back and be like, ha ha ha. Because I don't think I would have specifically sought out Harrisville Design, so I have heard of them. But when I held it in my hand and I could see, like, how amazing, like, all these different pieces came together to make this yarn, I was like, but at that point I did not have money left in my cash stash to purchase something, so I'm like, am I gonna break out the credit card for this? And really it would have been the debit card. But it's like, if I break out the plastic now, it's just gonna be insane. So I, like, took a deep breath and, like, looked at patterns. Eventually broke out the plastic anyway for Jenkins spindles. But I walked away. But I felt bad about it. So when my mom was like, what are things that you want? What do you like? It was like, I sent her a link to that yarn, so she picked up a couple of skeins for me. I'll probably have to pick up a few more to make a sweater, but it is a start, so that was nice. And honestly, I've been looking very hard at, what is it? Now I'm gonna have to, I think I showed, oh no. But I had a couple of patterns in mind that would be really pretty gorgeous, that I had queued at Rhinebeck in my fevered searching. So something with, like, actually, like, very flowing, soft, very modern cables was super duper exciting. So something with sport weight yarn, And at the time it was a pretty new pattern. I bet with further procrastination it'll be fine. The other thing was I ended up sending a skein for a skein. And I got a cool colorway that I've never had before. So I ended up sending my Peggy on its way. It was very much so 70s colors. And what I got instead was Witcher Walzer. And my twin came back as a twin. And this guy has it has a dark brown, a light brown, a pretty bright fuchsia, a bright teal, a purple, and even some blues in it as well. So it is a very fun multi from Woolmisa. I also got a Loopy U bag and then a book. So this is the Scorpio Races, which is by, what is it? Maggie Stiefvater? It won an award. I've never heard of this award though. Whatever. So I think it's actually young adult, I believe. So shouldn't be too crazy. So should be interesting. It was the case where my swappy had asked through the organizer, like, hey, have you read any of these books? I'm like, no, but I would be interested in any of them. So this was the one I ended up receiving. So that was fun and sweet. I also got chocolates. And let's just say that I probably spent a week looking for the chocolates because I thought the chocolates were coming in a separate box. And they were all shipped in the same box. So I felt a little silly, but whatever. So, enjoying the chocolates. And the last thing was something that was in the mailbox today. So, I'm just gonna open it up now. All good. So it's the case where sometimes it's a little bit crazy making because, I don't know what it'll be. So, I ended up grabbing an Instagram D-stash. It was a screaming deal shipped for these skeins of yarn. I was very, very excited. And you ended up getting a discount if you just got the whole stinking lot at once. So I was like, okay, no big deal. And the main thing was that it actually had two colors that I had wanted, for sure. And then two that I was happy to also get at the same time. So this is Lapis Lazuli, which is a very gorgeous, what is it? It has purples and blues, and they're very, very similar in tone, if that makes any sense. So it's like a deep purple and a deep blue, and all it's coming out across the screen is blue. But I swear, there's some purple in there too. The other one, so I had made a shawl not too long ago out of Aurora, but this guy here is, would it be Farless Pink, would be the best way to describe it. So it has tones of, what would it be, sort of a very, very light pink, this like rich orange, and then a red. So it's all these warm tones coming together. And then I also have a skein of Grantopoful, which is a colorway that I have used before and really enjoyed. I made a sweater out of this. And so this is a, it has a cool red and a very warm red in it. So I was like, woohoo! And then Babe, which is one that hasn't necessarily been on my radar, but is pretty cool. I definitely don't have a lot of pink in my stash, but not too crazy. So these are all Woolmeister 100%, and what would it be? It was $95 shipped for all 5 skeins, or all 4 skeins, so it's like, of course I'll buy it. So it'd be the case where you have the stash transfer principle, so it's like, I'm sold. Oh well. So it'd be the case where, what would be, have I met with Woolmeister since I went to the store in Germany in 2016? Let's see. What would it be? If we were to be talking about resolutions, it would be like, knit with my Woolmeister because it is my favorite yarn. And then knit with handspun. Because it's piling up. For my swap, I also ended up sending a skein of handspun. I ended up sending one of my Spin the Bin skeins. It was actually Into the World in the Prancing Pony, which was, what would it be? It sort of seemed to be the best match between, what would it be? Like, the handspun I had in stash, and then my Swappy's sensibilities, so I figured that it would be nice to get some of it out of the stash, because it would be, there's a lot of intentions of knitting with handspun, and would be lots. I'm making yarn faster than I'm knitting with it, for sure. So I can foresee handspun gifts often in the future, just because you're like, this is beautiful, this is lovely, and I know what I'm going to do with it yet. So I think that's the one in which you're like, okay, ship it off. But there were maybe some that were like closer to my, or that you're like, can't let this one go. And if it's the case where you can't let this one go, you're like, well, why haven't I made something with it yet? Well, I suppose for these, like, because the pink and black one, or the pink and brown one, I do have intentions of knitting that with my crazy steel yarn, so I'd already bought yarn to use it with, so there were already plans in the works. Like, it just had to be. But I don't know, there's just some things where you're like, you know what, I need to keep that. So it's just funny how these things work out. So I don't know. So I am very excited to get, what would it be? I could have probably gone away with just getting these two, but really felt like I was filling out my stash nicely by getting the other two too. So, oh well. Full of craziness. I got a sweater's quantity of yarn for no apparent reason. And I probably will end up needing to place an order pretty soon to end up filling out my sweater quantity for the flywheel as well, because I want to make sure I have enough of that for that nonsense too. So, I don't know, it shouldn't be too crazy. But, what would it be? Look at all of the intentions running around and make sure I keep them all tamped down appropriately. So, hopefully next week I can do a yarn review about what would be some of the cool projects I've done this year. And also maybe talk a little bit about my plans for next year. So I'll probably have selected by then my spin the bin. I haven't quite done that yet. Though I'm probably going to be putting together a minimal spin the bin just to sort of free up the headspace, you know what I mean? What it'd be, it isn't like my fiber stash is out of control. It's more like, whatever, having the flexibility to work on what I want to work on when I want to work on it. That makes any sense? So it may be the case where I actually throw in this stuff, which I think will end up weighing about the right amount. And then my 5-bump combo spin here. But I'm not sure. I haven't yet committed. I think the other thing is that maybe I'm a little bit gun shy because it took a decent amount of time to do all of that fiber prep and the whole bit, so we'll figure something out. But there certainly are a decent amount of things to do. The other crazy making thing is, like, for example, I signed up to do a combo spin where we're going to be sending braids out in January, which is along the lines of picking 2 braids of fiber, stripping off an ounce from each of the braids for yourself, and then getting 6 ounces, so mailing your 6 ounces out, and then getting your 6 ounces back, which should be interesting, where someone is, or whatever, the wild onion in California will be mixing it all up for all of the different people to swap. What would it be? So that one's going to be interesting, and I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do for that yet. Not sure. One braid definitely looks very enticing. Not sure what the other braid is going to be exactly. But I don't know, we'll figure something out. But I don't know, there's all sorts of stuff going on. So there's still the sweater I need to start knitting. There's other sweaters. So many things. It's hard to believe that 2017 is nearly over. And the Flasher Stash 2018. So that will be a lot of fun. It'll be a little, like, I'm definitely going to be doing it on New Year's Day this year. So we shall see how that all comes together, because it's my chance to basically go through all my yarn and make sure everything looks good, replace bags, and sort of rearrange everything back onto the shelf neatly again. Because right now it's a little chaotic. And perhaps with all of the acquisitions this year, it may not go back nicely either. Oh well, I'm not a fiber club anymore. Silliness. So, we shall see. So, with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys in the new year. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.